Hello, welcome. It's Francis here. Thank you for coming back to my channel. If this is your first time here, I bid thee welcome. There is a subscribe button below if you'd like to help support this channel by subscribing. Also a bell to be notified as to when I upload more content. I'm coming to you from Ghana country, and I acknowledge the Ghana people of the Adelaide Plains as being the traditional custodians of the land upon which I reside. So Saturn apparently has moved into Aries, and astrologers are excited about this move that happened on the 25th of May. So what does all this mean? Well, Aries is the first sign of the zodiac, of the astrological wheel, and the first sign that just happens to be aligned with also being a fire sign, thus igniting the energy throughout this new cycle. And the last time that Saturn was at this instigating point of 0 degrees of Aries was round about from 1996 through to 1999. And when it moves, when it ingresses, this indicates or beginning, a commencement of a new 29-year chapter. And it will also set the tone of how we can build the future from the ground up, because Saturn is all about setting foundation. However, there will be a little bit of a test. So this could be seen as a test, because from the 1st of September through to the 14th of February next year, Saturn's going to be retrograding back into Pisces, but this will be for the final time. When it re-enters Aries in February next year, this is going to be just before another significant event, and that is its conjunction with Neptune that will be taking place on the 20th of February 2026. And then Saturn will remain in Aries until the 13th of April 2028. So being an outer planet, Saturn is considered to be connected in with adulthood. And as such, it's associated with karma, the sort of the understanding or realization that actions have consequences, that there is a ripple effect for what we do, what we think, what we feel, or what we do not. That things do not just happen in a vacuum, no matter how deeply we bury our heads into the sand. And we are seeing the world that we are living in as a result of our actions, or in some cases, our inactions. So during this last 29-year Saturn cycle, we have been dealing with an inherited system of expectations of how we are supposed to live, how we're supposed to succeed, the meaning of success, and even how we are supposed to behave. However, now as Saturn is moving to a 0 degree point in Aries, it's kicking off a new cycle. And this means, or can be very likened to hitting the reset button or refresh. In order to sort of start again, we've got a clean slate this time without bringing through these entanglements of outdated roles or borrowed perceptions from previous existences or incarnations. And as we sort of move with Saturn, we are invited to leave the past behind. And it's quite interesting to note, because this encouragement we have had to leave the past behind, we have had it for a while now, and especially more recently with these new moons, where the focus has been more on releasing and letting things go, at least from an astrological point of view, or from the astrologers that I follow, should I say, as opposed to the modern perception that every new moon you need to manifest. And it's just like, well, you can't manifest. Well, you can, but your manifestation won't have room to come to fruition if your cup is already full. So you need to empty it out and get rid of the stuff that no longer serves you. So we have been constantly being encouraged to release, surrender, and then release some more. And here we are now at this threshold where we are able to construct a life that is a reflection of what is meaningful to us now, without all the past entanglement getting in the way. And it's quite interesting because Saturn's departure from the sort of watery aspect of Pisces, and then its arrival into the initiating fire of Aries, it signifies that something major is about to be birthed. And this transition could mark the emergence of a project, an identity, even energy that has been sort of brewing inside of us for a while now. And now it is time for it to take form, especially when Saturn comes into conjunction with Neptune. We've got that on the horizon. Saturn itself, grandfather time, is connected with discipline and long-term mastery. So it's foundational work. And as such, the fast-moving energy of Aries may feel like things are taking longer to succeed, to come into fruition, but this is because it takes time to get going due to the structures and the delays that Saturn is imposing. But there is a purpose for that, a reason for that. It's about the attention to the detail, the exploration into all the behind the scenes mechanics in order to set up a foundation that will endure. We're not talking about fly-by-night superficial stuff here. We're talking about setting up a new foundation. So like when you're building a home, you need to prepare your foundation properly if you would like your home to last. And it can be likened to that sort of slow and steady lesson that we are taught in the tortoise and the hare fable as children. Saturn is also a doer. Its goal is to deliver. And when it comes to these important things in life, when it's focusing in on the things that are supposed to last, in order for these to manifest, it can take time and persistence. So if you've got your birth chart, your natal chart, look at where Aries is. What house is it in? Because this is being tamed by Saturn. We may be asked to sort of sleep on a few things before enacting upon. Even asking ourselves, is this really what we want? Is this truly in alignment with my values, with the person I am becoming, that I want to become? And as we are starting a brand new cycle, Saturn is no longer interested in the old rules. It sort of questions the ideas of appropriate timing because it wants to write its own frameworks. This transit is an opportunity to design new systems, new timelines, even new definitions of success. And with it being in Aries, Saturn wants us to work on our own terms, to discover our own new goal, our own ambitions, and what really feels to us as our own. Now, with this conjunction with Saturn and Neptune in February next year, again, it will be at the 0 degree point or the reset degree point of the zodiac. Saturn, which is quite interesting, is the last planet that is visible with our naked eye of our solar system. Therefore, it sort of defines the boundary between what we can actually see and understand, as well as what we know is beyond it. All those outer planets, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto. It can be almost likened to our conscious awareness, what we perceive as our reality, yet we have glimpses, inklings. There is a knowledge somewhere that there is more out there than what we can see in this physical reality. Other worlds, other realms. Neptune itself is connected to higher vibrational levels of consciousness, intelligences from where the universe originated. It is almost like the divine script, the blueprint, the cosmic architecture, the invisible design through which life unfolds. So when Saturn and Neptune meet in the first degrees of the astrological wheel, the whole operating system of our universe, really, of ourselves, of our existence, of our cosmos, of our consciousness, undergoes a reboot. Instead of following aimlessly, unconsciously, we are becoming more aware. We are beginning to understand that we are stepping into a completely new world with a new vision, and that's Neptune, with new rules and regulations and boundaries, and that is Saturn. And when we look back, especially on a global scale, to previous conjunctions between Saturn and Neptune, it may shed some light as to what we may or could experience. So in 1989, the two were conjoined in Capricorn, and this marked the end of the Cold War. The Berlin Wall fell. There were cracks starting to appear in institutions, all the sort of old Capricornial things. In 1953, they were in Libra, and that was sort of the emergence of the post-World War II world that was beginning to order stability through democracy and alliances and social contracts. Before that, 2017, they were conjoined in Leo, and that saw the fall of many monarchies around the world and the rise of state-centered ideologies where power, Leo is a sign of power, power was a dynamic, it was visible. And before that, in 1882, Saturn and Neptune were conjoined in Taurus. And that was around the time of the Industrial Revolution that sort of reshaped the material values and also human labor, very earthy themes there. So Aries itself is a little bit like the Fool in the tarot pack. It is a little bit like stepping into the unknown. It's sort of like the pioneer, the venturer, I always say, because I am an Aries, rushing in where angels fear to tread sort of thing. It's like sort of the seed that's splitting open and not knowing what to expect. The venturer off without a map. So maybe it's a good time to just pause, especially as we're leading up to this conjunction next year in February, and just spend some time and consider, what will we build? What do you want to build? What is the world that you would like to live in? How will you build it? Especially in relation to courage and clarity, or will it be built on illusion and control? Will it be a brave new world that will empower individuals with spiritual purpose? Or will we see sort of a technocratic dystopia of digitized meaning that is really just a distraction from real world problem. Are we actually in engineering systems that help everyone? Or are we still just focusing on the self? Where are our values? Remember that the world that we have been brought up in, the rules and regulations of that society now can be broken down. We don't need to carry that stuff with us. But in saying that, we need to also be careful what we wish for, because we may actually get it. So I think it does take a bit of deep reflection. We need to find the courage or be encouraged to be careful, almost like being sort of discerning in what we wish for. Sort of like the Neptunian longing for a dream. And this dream will be birthed, will be brought into existence. But we need to also keep in mind that every action has consequences. That anything we carry within eventually transforms. And in the past, we have seen the birth of new power struggles, new power systems, the redrawing of official borders and the formation of treaties. Some have been beneficial, others have not. So again, what do you want to burn? And we need to also move beyond the I am, the individual, which is Aries. And again, consider our flow and effect, the ripples of our actions and how they affect the wider population as a whole. Quite a bit to think about. So what will be this new world that everybody's talking about, and what is our role that we want to play in it? We now have a reset button. Something to think about. Blessings.